Hello guys, Lone Vic here, and today it's how to play time for Dog Park, a newly arrived Kickstarter game from Birdwood Games, which is from 1 to 4 players, and you guessed it, it's about dogs. And me being a complete dog nut and a dog person, I've been waiting for this game for a very long time and very eagerly. And well, if you want to know my opinion about this game, check out the review that will be on my channel soon. In this video, I will be telling you how to play and set up a game from 2 to 4 players. The solo rules and the solo playthrough will be on this channel soon as well, so stay tuned. If you want to support, if you like, and if you want to support what I'm doing here on my channel, you can always, click the like button under the video, hit the subscribe, ring the notification bell, ding ding, to be notified about new upcoming videos on my channel. And right now, without further ado, without further delay, let's dive into how to set up Dog Park. You might have guessed that obviously for the setup we will need the game board, we will also need the lead board for each of the players, and if you have the Kickstarter version you will also give each player a kennel board, and if you don't have the Kickstarter version you need to reserve space for 8 cards somewhere for each player. So those are the biggest elements that you will be using during this game. Now, once the board is set up, you should grab the forecast cards, shuffle them, and display 4 face up in these spaces near the top of the board. If this is your first game, or if you are playing with less experienced players, you may completely skip those forecast cards and play without them. Take the 7 breed expert cards, shuffle them as well, and display them face up in this breed expert column, like so. So you've got the terrier, the pastoral, the toy, the gun dog, the working dogs, the hounds, and the utility dogs. Take the dog cards that you have in the box. There are quite a lot of them, to be honest. Shuffle them as well as you can so that they're very well mixed up. And the rulebook suggests to take only half of them for each game. And seriously, there won't be any need for this huge of a stack for one game, so you can easily take even less. Place them somewhere nearby, like here is the place for the dog deck even, and populate the field starting from the left with as many dogs as you have for the recommended number of players. If you have a 4-player game, you place 4 dogs here. For a 2 and a 3-player game, we need 3 dogs over here. So since I'm setting up a 2-player game, I will place 3 top dogs here. So I've got a working dog, a hound, and a howl. Also, if you have the Kickstarter version, you will get those cool wooden tokens in this game trays insert. So place all the tokens in easy reach for all the players. So we've got the toys, as you can see, those pink ones. We've got the snacks or treats. We've got the balls for playing for the dogs. We've got the sticks. And we also have the collar tokens, let's call them like that. There are 2 different location decks which are called either the rerouted park or the plentiful park. The plentiful being the green one, and this rerouted is in this more autumn color scheme. If you are playing a 2 or a 3-player game, take the rerouted park deck, and if you are playing a 4-player game, take the plentiful park deck, shuffle it well, and place it in the space designated for the location deck. Reveal the top location card and place the tokens that were provided in the box in the marked spaces. So as you can see, the X should go on the 3rd spot in the bottom row. I should give an additional prestige point over here, and I should place a snack token on this space. Take the round tracker, which is this nice blue birdie, and place it on the first space, on the recruit space of the first round. Now for the player setup, after the players get their lead boards and kennel boards, if you have them, each player should also receive their walker token, their offer dial, which has those numbers from 1 through 5 on the reverse, their reputation marker, which you place on the 5th space of the prestige or reputation points track, and also 2 sticks, 2 balls, 1 snack, and 1 toy. Those are the starting resources for each player, regardless of the player count. Take the cards marked as objectives, which are divided into 2 categories. The yellow ones, which are standard objectives, and the red ones, which are the experienced objectives. Each player takes 1 random card from each of those decks and then secretly selects the one to keep and the one to throw away. So each player can decide to be playing with an experienced or a standard objective. Not all players have to have the same type. If you are playing a 2 or 3 player game, you need to remove the experienced card marked with a 1, which is called 4 of a kind. So I will just symbolically take 1 standard and 1 experienced for my player setup over here. Additionally, each player should get 2 player aid cards for the game round and for scoring, which I will place here, and decide which player will take the first player marker and become the starting player for round 1. One more thing, if you are playing a 2-player game, you will need 2 additional things. 1, you will need a walker token of a color not used in the game, which I will place here just in case, and you also need the die that's been provided in the box, which I will also place here. This is the only difference for the setup between 2-player games and a 3 and 4-player game. Alright, so let's talk about the game overview, and later on we will explain what to do in each round and so forth and so on. So a game of Dog Park lasts 4 rounds, which are governed by these 4 forecast cards. So in each round, a different forecast card will be active and its passive effect will be working. Each round consists of 4 phases: the recruit phase, the select phase, the walk phase, and the home time phase, which are being done in order. Each player starts with 5 reputation points, and this reputation is also victory points for the end of the game, but you will be spending those reputation points as well to collect dogs from the field and into your kennel. Here we have the track on which you'll be walking your dogs through the park, and this track has 2 separate paths that you can take, and we'll talk about it later. We've got those 7 breed expert cards, which will be scored at the end of the game based on how many dogs of each breed each player has. And when it comes to our player boards, each player over the course of the game will collect exactly 8 dogs, 2 per round, and simultaneously you will be only able to walk a maximum of 3 dogs unless a game effect tells you otherwise. The dog cards themselves, as you can see, I hope very well, have a few information that are important. The color of the card matches one of the 7 breeds that we have in the game. The icons here is the cost of taking the dog for a walk. The effects on the bottom of the card can be 3 different types, and they either work during the selection phase, during the walking phase, or endgame scoring. And also at the bottom of every card you have some flavor text or some curious fact about the breed or the dog that you have on this card. Apart from the standard symbols that you have on the board, which refer to the resources like the stick, the toy, or the biscuit or snack, we have also a few symbols that might need some clarification. Now this of course refers to the reputation or victory points, if you will. This symbol of a color represents those color tokens which you'll be placing on the dogs that you've walked during your round. This X that you place through the location card sometimes means that a space is blocked, and should be skipped during the walking phase, and we also have two abilities that you can activate usually during the walking phase. The first one is scouting and the second one is swapping. Scouting means that whenever you activate a scout ability, you take two cards from the top of the dog deck, you look at them publicly, and then you are able to swap one of the dogs from your hand with one of the dogs from the field, like so. And then the two remaining dogs go to the discard pile or to the bottom of the dog deck. You won't see them again anytime anyways. And remember, this is an action that's optional to make. You don't have to swap. If you don't like those two dogs, you just can. The second action is the swap action. And if you want to perform the swap action, that means that you will replace one dog from the kennel that you have with one dog from the field. And the trick to this action also is that your dogs in the kennel will sometimes or very often have collars or collar tokens on them. And when you do this kind of swap between your kennel and the field, those tokens are lost unless you are doing a swap action that has this collar symbol attached to it. In this case, those collars will stay on the newly swapped dog. And that's it when it comes to the key concepts. Let's dive into how to play a single round of Dog Park. Okay guys, so a single round of Dog Park goes through 4 phases, and the first phase is called recruiting. Recruiting means that you'll be recruiting one of those dogs into your kennel so that you can grow your collection of dogs, grow your kennel, and then walk your dogs during the next phases. Now, how do we go about recruiting? In player order, starting from the first player, each player decides which dog do they want to bid on, and they place their walker token next to this dog on the closest position and then further down. So for example, if I, as the first player, want to bid on this dog, on the Bernese Mountain Dog, and then the second player also, then the second player will place their walker token below mine. Apart from placing your walker token, you also have to secretly set a number of reputation points that you want to spend on the bid on this dog in order to acquire it. Let's say that I will spend 2 points. And then you place this dial below the dog as well, secretly, and then the other players do the same. So place their walker on any of the dogs, place their bid secretly, and once everybody is done with it, we unveil the bids. Now, if you are unopposed, so you are the only person bidding for this dog, you reveal your bid, you lose the reputation points, your walker goes back, and you collect the dog. However, if there were 2 players bidding for this dog, then the player who bid more gets the dog and loses the reputation points, obviously, and the player who lost the bid will gain the remaining dog, one of the remaining dogs from the board that nobody else selected at the end of the recruitment round, and will pay only 1 reputation point for it. So, for example, if we had a 3-player game here, and the situation would be like this, and I won't go into the bidding right now, into those bid dials here, but I bid, for example, 2 for the Bernese dog, the yellow player bid 3, so he outbid me, so the yellow player gets the Bernese, the blue player will get this utility dog because he was unopposed and will lose the reputation points that he had on their dial, and I will get this last dog that nobody got for 1 reputation point. This is how it works. Now, if there is a draw between players who are contending for the same dog, the player who placed their token earlier, so in this case me, is the winner. Now, there might be a situation in which a player has 0 reputation points during the recruitment phase. In this case, this player does not bid on any of the dogs like you would usually do it, but instead they will select any of the leftover dogs once all the other players' bidding phase is resolved. And they don't have to pay any reputation points, obviously. Now, in a 2-player game, there is a little twist to that. So in a 2-player game, me as the first player, I would place my bid on a dog, then the second player would also place the bid on their dog, and then the automatic player, so this blue one, would place their bid. They always go last, and they go in order from top to bottom on this breed expert track. So if there was a terrier here, they would go for a terrier. There is no pastoral, there is no toy, no gun dog. The working dog is the top dog, so this player also goes for the working dog. And since I am contending for the working dog, then, I would have to have the dial set, and then you roll the die to see how many points does the automatic player give for this dog. And in this case, I rolled a 2. My dial also shows 2, and in case of a draw, I am the winner because I was ahead. This guy is always last, so I would collect the working dog. The second player would collect the utility dog because he is unopposed, and the automatic player would get this hound into his kennel, which you can place somewhere on top of the game board so that everybody can see it, and this kennel will be useful for the end game scoring. I will tell you when. So this is basically the rule if you are playing a 2-player game. Now, once this recruitment phase is over, you do it once again, because you do 2 recruitments every single round, so that you add 2 dogs to your kennel. So you basically fill up the field again. All the walker tokens are being returned to their respective players, and also the dials, and you repeat the whole process one more time. Oops, this card got upside down. Once the second recruitment is done, and everybody got their second dog, you refill the field once more, and you move on to the select phase. Now, in the select phase, the case is very easy. You choose the dogs from your kennel which you want to take for a walk. You can take a maximum of 3 dogs during every single selection round unless a forecast effect tells you otherwise, because there is one that changes this rule. And when selecting the dog, you have to pay the cost that's shown on the dog from your resources. So for example, if I want to take my Bernese Mountain Dog for a walk, I have to pay 2 balls. And if I wanted to take this pastoral dog as well, I would have to pay a stick, a ball, and a toy. Now I've got a stick, I've got a toy, I have no ball, but if you don't have the required resource, you always can spend any 2 resources instead of one particular one. So I can spend this 1 stick and 1 snack instead of the missing ball. And I take these 2 dogs for a walk. Now, some of the dogs you will see that have an effect, like for example this Slovakian rough-haired pointer, which is a gun dog, and this effect will say that during selection, when you do something, then something. So if the effect of the dog states that during selection something happens, this effect is triggered once you take the dog from the kennel, pay its cost, and place it in your lead board. This effect then is triggered immediately. So this means that, for example, if this effect tells you to exchange or collect an additional resource, you can take this dog first, gain the resource, and then use the resource to pay for another dog to take on the lead. And this is the selection phase in all its glory. The automated player in a 2-player game doesn't do anything in the selection phase. Now let's move on to the walking phase. Now, in the walking phase, once you've got your dogs on your lead, each player places their walker token at the start of the walk. That includes the automated player in a 2-player game. And now, in turn order, starting from the first player, each player can move from 1 up to 4 spaces on this walking track. Remember that we are skipping this space with the X if you're close to it. And 1, 2, 3, if I, for example, move here for 3, I can collect this reward, which is a toy, and this toy is right now in my supply. Now, the second player would be able, if this was a human player, they would be able to move 4 spaces or 1 space and collect the reward. If they move on a space occupied by anybody else, in order to collect the reward, they need to spend 1 reputation. If we are playing a 2-player game, the automated player always goes last after all players, and the automated player moves the amount rolled on the die. So in this case, they would move for 2. Additionally, there are a few rules when it comes to walking that we need to discuss right now. Those spaces that have this additional, for example, snack token in this case, or the additional reputation token, they are not a first come, first serve basis. Any player that goes onto those spaces can take a snack token and a scout action, or for example here, 2 prestige points instead of the one printed on the board. So those tokens are not taken off once a player moves onto them. When a player moves from this space or crosses this space where you have to choose a path arrow, they decide whether they want to go the lower path or the upper path until the end of the track. Once a player moves off of the track, so past the last field or from the last field to this track, they select any of those rewards. This one is reserved only for a 4-player game. So for example, if I'm the first to finish, I could choose either 2 victory points or 2 reputation points, or 1 point, or a swap action without losing the colors. So I could go here or here, for example, in a 2 or 3-player game. Now, the second player would also need to walk off of the board and move onto the remaining space. And the last player who is left on the walk, so the slowest player, will get a penalty of -1 victory point. So if there is only 1 player left on this track, the walk ends, and everything that you've collected is in your resources or in your reputation track, and that's it. Additionally, if you have any dogs that have a walking action on their cards and they are on your lead during the walk, like for example this Norwich Terrier does, when walking this dog, whenever you gain 1 or more snacks, you may swap, activates once per movement. You can do this action every single time you collect, in this case, a snack token. So for example, here you could take a snack token and swap something from your kennel with something from the field. And then again here, for example, you could do this the same way. So if you have a dog on the lead with a walk activity. Okay, so all of the players moved onto this track. The last player, whether it's the automated player or any other player, loses 1 victory point or 1 reputation point. Obviously, the automated player doesn't collect reputation points, so they won't lose any. But if they're last, then, well, they're last. We can move on to the home phase. And now the home time phase, or the home phase as I call it, is kind of a cleanup phase in this regard. Now, what happens in the home phase is that for each dog that you had on the lead during this round, you get 2 reputation points. So in this case, I would gain 1, 2, 3, 4 reputation. There you go. You return those dogs to your kennel and you place a color token on them, which means that they have been walked already. And you can take them for a walk again in the next round and they would get a second color token on them after that walk, because some of the dogs will have a scoring condition regarding those tokens. But then in the home time phase, if you have any dogs in the kennel that haven't been walked at least once, so have no tokens like this, you lose 1 victory point for each this kind of dog. Your walkers also return from the park onto their respective boards, or in the case of the automated player, they go off of the board. After you do this, you prepare for the next round, which means that you move the round marker to the next recruit phase. You flip the forecast card from the past round face down so that it's not confused, because right now the new one will be active. You take down all the tokens from the path, you uncover a new location card and assign the tokens respectively. So in this case, the new path would look like this, and the first player marker is passed to the next player to the left. If this is the fourth round and you are resolving the home time phase, the game is over after the steps and you go into the final scoring. So the final scoring is pretty simple in this game as well. The first thing is that you collect those reputation or victory points during the game for walking the dogs and from those tracks here, so you have some victory points already. Then you look at all your dogs in your kennel that have the final scoring action, and you gain victory points from this. Like for example, my Bernese Mountain Dog would get 2 victory points for each color token on this dog. So if you, for example, take this dog on a walk every single round, you would get 8 points for this dog, which is pretty sweet. After each player calculated all the dogs with final scoring which they have in their kennel, you take a look at the Breed Expert Awards and you look at how many dogs of each breed does each player have in their kennel. So for example, first they're terriers. The player who has the most terriers in their kennel gets 8 victory points. Then you look at the pastorals, then toy, then gun dog. Every game will be different because those cards will be reshuffled and distributed differently. If there is a tie between players, both players get the allotted number of points. Now, in a 2-player game where you have the automated player, remember that this guy always collected 1 dog from the recruit phase into their kennel, quote unquote. Those dogs in the automated player's kennel count against your dogs in this track, and if the automated player wins in any category, then no players get the reputation points for that breed. If there is a draw between the automated player and 1 or 2 human players, then the human players get the reputation points as during the usual draw rules in this case. Next, you take a look at the objective card that you've selected in the beginning of the game, whether experienced or standard, and you score this. And last but not least, every 5 leftover resources in your supply give you 1 victory point. Tally up everything, and the player who has the most reputation after that is the best dog walker there is. Okay guys, so I think that this is it. We've arrived at the end of this video. This is how to play for Dog Park, a game from Birdwood Games about walking dogs. If you want to find out how to play the solo game, there will be a video very soon on my channel with a solo explanation, an explanation for the solo rules and a solo playthrough, like 2-in-1 kind of deal. And I will also be posting my review pretty soon for this game, because, well, I'm playing this pretty eagerly right now and I'm starting to get a feel of this game and shaping my opinion already. If you have any comments or any questions about the rules that I've just explained, use the comment section below the video, please. I'm sure I will be able to respond to everything that you throw at me when it comes to this game. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope that this video helped you in clarifying the rules or maybe learning how to play the game. And remember, if you want to support what I'm doing here, if you like this video or any other videos on my channel, there's the like button under the video, there's the subscribe and the notification bell that you can click. And thank you very much for watching once again. This was Dog Park. My name was Lone Vic, and see you in another video here on my channel very soon. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye bye.